Good evening, everyone. So this evening, I have been really struggling through, like I said, this mess of the Edfu texts. I found out something extremely interesting with this island of trampling, where the Egyptians had their own Atlantis type myth of an island that was destroyed, and the old gods were destroyed, and then new gods were born. There is a way that this happened that is extremely interesting because it happened in a place of reeds. I'd love to find the original text to see if they described it as a sea of reeds. If anyone is a close student of this, they might know that in Hebrew, the phrase sea of reeds is Yam Suf. This has often been translated as Red Sea. So the so-called parting of the Red Sea was in most Exodus and Deuteronomy translations rendered these days as Reed Sea. So the idea that you have a religious tradition that is in many ways influenced by Egyptian concepts, that Moses was someone who the Torah itself says was educated in all the magic and arts of Egypt, they appear to be, and perhaps this is more Exodus exegesis than it is an analysis of Edfu, but I think this is important, that Exodus recapitulates the Egyptian Atlantis myth. And it's not something like they're saying that it's not like the flood story. The flood story is a bit different, that is a retelling of a tangent in Gilgamesh and Enkidu, where it's very obviously influenced. The story of Samson is very obviously influenced by Hercules. There's a reason that there, and in some sense that makes those things ahistorical. I think there's a reason why this is done with a sense of historic knowledge, with an awareness of reference in this case, because there isn't more than one Samson, Hercules type figure in the Bible. There isn't more than one flood story in the Bible. There is more than one miraculous crossing of a river story. The crossing of the river miraculously is something that happens more than once and always refers to the previous crossing. So when the nation of Israel crossed into Jordan with Joshua, they set up stones behind them to mark where they did it, and they said, and be sure that you remember how God helped you across the Yam Suf. Now, is it possible, again, that just as the priestesses of the Temple of Sais said to Plato, "Oh, you Solon," to Solon, to Solon, "Oh, you Solon, you Greeks are all children, and there's no such thing as a young Greek. You think there was only one flood. There was a previous one. There may be a certain kind, they have that. There has not been just one miraculous crossing of a river. There was a previous one. So perhaps there's a kind of reference of the crossing of the Yam Suf being a reference to a previous kind of inundation, because the crossing of the Red Sea is a flood and destruction. It's a flood and destruction where the gods, the armies of old Egypt, are destroyed by this new nameless god. So, and I'm not saying nameless about the Atlantis story. In the Atlantis story of the Edfu texts, in the story of the island of trampling, there is a nameless presence. There is a Ka that comes about, that surfaces, a god which is as of yet undefined. That there was a field of reeds that got flooded, that got inundated and destroyed with the falling of the Sound Eye, and the old ones, the ancient ones, were destroyed with it. Field of reeds, ancient ones destroyed, new nameless god showing its power, new nation established. These are the essential themes of both the story of the crossing of the Reed Sea and of of the destruction and recreation of the island of trampling in the Atlantis myth of the Temple of Edfu. I'm still really wading through thick mud, impassable shoals of disorganized scholarship here, but I thought I would share at least that. There certainly is more to come. Thank you for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe as always. Thank you.
Good job, Dave.
Yeah.